Thanks again for joining us. So for those of you who don't know Mark Andy, we're a global company founded 75 years ago in Missouri, the United States, in the basement machine shop by a person by the name of Mark Andrews, one of the founding fathers of this entire industry. His mentality was to provide total solutions as a partner for total solutions to his customers. And the relationship didn't end after simply making a sale. That is the mind structure that has brought Mark Andy to where it is today. Mark Andy has over 10,000 machines installed across the globe, over 40 partners who distribute our solutions worldwide, and a growing team of 400 plus employees who work on a daily basis to develop the best equipment in the industry and provide the highest quality of service to meet customer needs. Today, market dynamics of the label industry are changing, and Mark Andy follows market needs closely. Brands are also requiring solutions that are not only address shelf appeal, but that drive customer choice and provide functionality in other ways. This is a digital transformation. The needs include micro runs, versioning, variable data, short run and short lead times, and product differentiation. These are at the forefront of what brands are asking for. The Digital One was the machine that responded to this. Our printers requested this over the years, and in 2016, we launched this platform. It was an enormous success, an affordable and revolutionary digital hybrid solution that reached record sales volumes. The machine had a fixed configuration. Feedback from the label converters started to develop over the years. Some of the opinions were requested, and they included semi-rotary die cutting, a white printing for no-look labels, more slitting solutions, and roll-to-sheet capabilities. That's when Mark Andy engineers went on the mission to design an even more comprehensive solution that would encompass all of these new requirements. What came of that was the Digital Pro, and in late 2019, we launched the machine that focuses on increasing profitability and productivity through high speed, low cost to print, and a variety of converting options. The Digital Pro is everything that the market has come to know and love about the Digital One, but with a pro factor: productivity, profitability, and a future-proof promise. So let's do a quick walkthrough live from the US Technology Center with Ted Bright and learn more about this machine.
Thank you, Alex, and welcome to the US Technology Center for Mark Andy, right here in beautiful Chesterfield, Missouri. And we're going to go through a brief overview of the machine, just like Alex said. So again, this is the Digital Pro, and we're going to start with our 30-inch unwind. That's going to be about 5,000 feet on a typical substrate. And we've got our web guide and our web cleaner. One of the unique aspects of Digital Pro compared to Digital One is the first flexo station. After the first flexo station, we come into the digital in-feed pacing, and then of course, right into the digital module. As Alex alluded to, this is a CMYK Konica Minolta print engine, printing the CMYK process. Also unique to Digital Pro is the digital bypass. So we'll get more into that in a minute, and you'll actually get to see a job run on that. So as we exit the digital module or the digital bypass, we come into the second flexo station, where most customers are putting a spot color or a varnish or a cold foil. Of course, we have our lamination tower, and then we come into one of our other biggest differentiators on the Digital Pro, and that is our semi-rotary die cutter. Much more on that later as well. After the semi-rotary die cutting, we've got our scoring, slitting, and then our dual feed rewind. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and kick it. I'm sorry, we're going to get right into job number one. So as we're warming up, I'm going to talk a little bit about job number one. and that is it's a single skew job, printed at 77 feet per minute, which is the maximum speed of the press, and a common theme that you'll see throughout this demo. Job number one is printed on a 54-pound UPM semi-gloss paper with a 40-pound craft liner. Some of the highlights that you're going to see on job number one are the digital print, of course, the semi-rotary die cutting and waste windup, RD scoring blades, the crush slitters, and the upper and lower rewind, which are critical for proper tension and quality on the finished rolls of labels that you get right off the end of the press. Alfredo was nice enough to go ahead and prepare a fine looking sample on a black background here. So again, on job number one, it's I think you'll see this is probably just an average typical label that we would see, in the majority of shops all across the country, and it's perfect for the Digital Pro. Some of the highlights again are the digital print, of course, being CMYK, the die cut. This is a perfect illustration of die cutting and then slitting onto 3 finished rolls.
That's great. Thanks, Ted. So let me just take a moment to solidify a lot of some of the things that Ted talked about. We talked about let's go from the left side of the machine all the way to the right side of the machine just to solidify. We said that we have an unwind. This is a hybrid press. You're going to put on a roll and take off a roll. Okay, 30-inch unwind feeds into the a web guide. The web guide has a splicing table on there. We have the cleaner right there on the press. We have an optional white flexo station that's capable of laying down the white. Our digital CMYK has a re-registration that can print right onto that white. And by the way, that white is a high opacity white available by Mark Andy. The CMYK is produced by Konica Minolta, and I should say that this engine is tried and true. Only in the United States, there's well over 10,000 of these units running on a daily basis in both commercial and industrial segments. So well supported by Konica Minolta, an international brand that has a great relationship with Mark Andy on this platform. Finishing is all in line. You don't have to take it somewhere else. You feed it through your varnish station. You can over laminate. You can spot varnish. You can put down cold foil, cast and cure for those that are familiar with that, and straight into semi-rotary die cutting. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. And then we'll get into a discussion about the slitting straight in line. You can do that online or offline if you'd like, depending on the sizes of your jobs, and the capability of doing dual rewind. And we'll talk about some options around this press as well. Oh, and I forgot to mention that bypass. So as we look to some of the applications that are important to mention, so the market is constantly looking at quality around print, and one of the things that really make the Konica Minolta a shining star in the industry is the rich black toner. If you get samples printed up, if you contact one of our sales guys and get together a set of samples printed for you, you'll find that our black toner is phenomenal. The gradations with this print engine are also outstanding. You'll see that in the quality of the print samples you get. the exactness of a small point printing and line printing is remarkable. With barcode printing, we have the capability of doing variable data, sequential numbering, sequential imaging. All of this is capable with this affordable press, and all inline and all hybrid. So if you have samples, please bring them to us. Talk to our salespeople, and they'll get to you. All right, so I have some questions that I often get asked, Ted, and I'd like to know how you answer these questions, okay? Sometimes I get asked, what percentage of Pantone colors can this press print?
Yeah, and I get that question asked a lot too, Alex. And of course, it's going to be dependent upon the substrate, but within a margin of 2 delta E, you're going to be able to hit about 65% of the Pantone. Again, dependent on substrate.
Okay, and another question I get asked is, what about color calibration? How does it work? How do we deal with that with the press?
So that is another great question, and it really highlights a great advancement that Mark Andy has made from our Digital One. Digital One had limited color capabilities, color matching and process capabilities. With the Digital Pro, the enhancements are a lot more robust. So you can have there's an array of software applications that you can add to the press that will enhance your color management processes and VDP as well. A lot of more front-end software solutions are available, and I would definitely recommend consulting your Mark Andy representative. That way we can get your pre-press team talking to our pre-press team and hash out what is the exact best solution for your workflow and processes.
That's good. I guess you'll cover barcodes and consecutive numbers and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a capability of the press, and is definitely worthy of vetting with our pre-press team. Right.
So we also talked about some other capabilities that came up around industrial printing and industrial labels, and particularly around the durability of the toner. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. And we do get that a lot as well. The toner-based construction of the Konica Minolta print engine is very well known for its durability. It's got several UL certifications. It does really well in I believe it's the British 5609 standard for labeling of oil drums that are being shipped across the ocean, which are some of the most rigorous standards that label testing has. We also have the UL 969 light fastness certification, and several others. I would definitely recommend getting in touch with your Mark Andy sales representative, and that way they can provide you with the exact documentation that will give you the exact specs that you need to produce your labels.
Right. So maybe we should talk about the substrate range then. Sounds like a good idea.
Sounds good.
All right. So another big advantage for the Digital Pro, unlike other digital devices, this machine doesn't require any priming. That's a big seller for this press. It's a little press that does a lot of work. We have a list of validated media that can be run through the press, and it is extensive. We have I visited many customers that basically they understand that there's a validated list, but at the same time they run their own Flexo stock through there as well. And a lot of the materials are pressure sensitive stock, paper, BOPP, PET, polypropylenes, unsupported paper, tag stocks. I've seen a customer running tags as well, and synthetics. Now, the biggest consideration, and this is not a digital engine or particularly a Digital Pro question, It is about the physics around the technology. This being a toner press, of course, the factors to consider are always going to be about fusing temperature inside the press and elasticity of materials. So you know, if you've got, well, I tell my customers that if they've got materials, they should just bring them to the table. Is that what you find as well, Ted?
Yeah, that's always the best in class procedure there. Let's get them in front of our demo team. Let's run them and see what happens. You're right about the thermal fusion process. So any thermally sensitive materials, you just want to check out the specs on it. But the default is let's run it and see.
All right. So got another question. I get this too. So between Flexo and the Digital Pro, what would you say would be the sweet spot transitioning from a short run to a long run, Ted?
Sure, and that's a great question, and that's probably the question that we get the most. What are the economics that support where a job should run? On average, I'm going to say the sweet spot for Digital Pro is going to be about 5,000 feet. But anything from micro runs, proofing runs, all the way, I've got customers that are running, 20,000 foot runs on this thing. So at the end of the day, the economics will bear. We always recommend getting in touch with your Mark Andy representative, and we can perform a very comprehensive analysis that will tell you exactly what your cost to produce is on all of the different processes in your plant, and it will give you an exact crossover, whether it's more beneficial to run on Digital Pro, or let's say your P5 Flexo press. So it's going to depend on the job, depend on your certain situation, and we can help you with your data determine what that exact crossover point is.
Yeah, Ted, I've found that when I'm in the marketplace, there's so many different companies and so many different situations that we can't just lump them all into a single number like this, right? And then we find that, if we're comparing against a P series press is not exactly the same thing as a mechanical, maybe, Scout from the 1995 era. So we're going to have different crossover points depending on what we're comparing against. And when we actually take the entire digital line of products, including our inkjet, we just might find that the customer will go that way if it just looks better for their company. I don't know about you, but I've been in plants where they've been running 2200 style presses. They got 5 or 6 of those, and it's time to move into digital. The Digital Pro is almost that ring on the finger, the glove that fits for all those short runs. And on the other hand, you might walk into a plant where they've got a couple of P series presses or servo presses, and they say, well, I don't want to run my short runs there either. And this is where the press just comes in as a good fit. I think that you guys are ready with the new job. Am I good? Am I right?
Yep, you are. Of course, Alfredo is on cue as always. But just to add a little bit to your last comment there, Alex, invariably every shop is going to have those handful of jobs that it takes a couple hours to set up and a couple minutes to run Flexo. Whereas if you can transition those jobs to the Digital Pro, then you have a very compelling business case to justify the investment, because it only takes a minute to send the job to press. It truly is. The Digital Pro has simplified digital printing to where it is comparable to printing to a desktop printer. Not quite that simple, but there are similarities in concept. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a handful of those types of jobs that it truly does go a long way. I mean, on average, I'm seeing, just like about 10 jobs a day can really go a long way in justifying the full investment of the press. Of course, that would depend upon your job.
Right.
So
And we've got a job up right now. Can you tell us about that? I mean, this is a new market, CBD.
yeah, the ever burgeoning CBD market. So on this job, we're printing one SKU, and again, the common theme of 77 feet per minute. We're printing this on 2 mil sparkles. Everybody's daughter will love this, right? Can't say no at the grocery store, right? With a 50-pound PET liner. And then, of course, we're laminating and we're using the lamb silencer. Notice the lamb silencer. You might not notice it, but you can still hear me talking. Of course, the semi-rotary die cut and weight wind up. And then Alfredo, again, so nicely provided the beautiful black backdrop so that you can see the label very well. It was created in-house, and again, the Everbirds and CBD market. So that's gonna wrap up job number 2 as me focuses in on the dual feed rewind in single feed mode, I should say. And Alex, at this point, we're gonna queue up job number 3 and going back to you, Alex.
Good. Well, let me talk about some of the options here. Let me introduce our guest today to the Digital Pro option for the finishing side of the press, okay? As you saw earlier in the live demo, the standard configuration of the press comes with an inline semi-rotary die cutting module. That's the Digital Pro 3. If you wanted to buy the press roll to roll, that's also available. But you know, the semi-rotary die cutting allows you to cut varying repeats or label sizes by simply changing a flexible die cutting plate time from job to job. The major benefit for the semi-rotary is that you're reducing your hard tooling inventory and the expenses of buying these solid dies. Or even if you had a set of magnetic dies, it's still a much better option to go with semi-rotary, and your particular sales representative can go deep into that conversation if you want to have that. For today's purposes, I also wanted to cover the optional conveyor system. This is something that our customers asked us for. This is a completely modular system. It's an option that can be attached to the press to create roll-to-sheet applications at full speed. With the conveyor system, you can cut from 2 to 14-inch sheets in perfect registration and batch the final product into set quantity. The output can be conveyed either into a box or an optional shingling table. And this is available from 4 to 8 foot lengths as well. This is an ideal solution for those that need inline cut to sheet product and labels that are hand applied. So Ted, you know, I'd like to bring you into the conversation about the semi-rotary die cutting module. Can you tell us about, you know, the minimum and maximum repeat, for example?
Yeah, definitely, and that is, you know, critical to understand that for a lot of customers, right? We need to be on the same page and understand that, you know, given your certain jobs and applications. The repeat range of our semi-rotary die cutting is 8 to 18 inches. However, as most people know, you know, Mark Andy's web handling and die cutting capabilities are one of our biggest competitive advantages. Mm-hmm. And it's not just as simple as 8 to 18 inches. It is there's a lot more to it in that we're able to die cut in semi-rotary mode from 8 to 18 inches at the full speed of the press. So the die cutting will not be a limiting factor on speed. You're able to run this press at 77 feet per minute, anything between 8 and 18 inches.
Right, and can we use existing dies is a question I often get.
It's always, you know, why would you want to? We definitely need to understand that. But there are a handful of scenarios where there is existing library of tooling that may make sense to use it. You can absolutely use it.
All right. And all right, I guess that our sales guys can get deep into that conversation when they sit down with anyone that's joining us today. I'd like to talk a little bit about slitting. What are the three optional slitting modules, and what's standard?
So I wouldn't say standard, but most customers prefer the crush knife. I've just noticed that the durability and preciseness of and the wide range of substrates, most customers tend to prefer the crush knife.
Yeah, so that's a whole conversation in itself. You know, I learned a lot about slitting from my early days at Rotoflex, a partner of Mark Andy. Slitting, when it comes to slitting, there's reasons for each and every one of these options. So quite common on flexo presses is a shear knife, and the shear knife is a very clear, clean cut type of cut. It's got almost like two knives that comes together in a rotary form. They're adjusted. They cut paper. They cut film. They're clean. They're durable. They don't cause any dust, or the minimal amounts of dust in very high speed applications. So shear is very good for high speed applications, and are often put into our flexo presses and on the Rotoflex rewinders. Another option, of course, is razor knife, or what sometimes in other international markets called Gillette cutting. This is the razor blade, very cheap blade that's put. It cuts film spectacularly well. It cuts paper as well. They're going to wear out faster. Of course, they're going to wear out faster, but they're a lot cheaper to replace. They create more dust, so they're not as preferable, so to say, in a paper application. However, dust happens a lot at high speeds. So if a customer was looking at a razor knife, for example, on a Digital Pro, it wouldn't exactly be a bad choice. It would be a very economical choice as well. So, and finally, when we get into crush knife is also referred to as a pneumatic type of a knife, where the pressure of the circular blade is placed on the hardened anvil, and the material goes through that. The blade itself is very sharp and cuts through film and paper very easily, but in high speeds, it will create dust as well. Now we're talking 77 feet a minute, and even if you're running at 150, crush knife is an excellent option. And you can basically move the crush knife by loosening a screw. You loosen the screw, you move the knife, you tighten the screw, and you're good to go. So it's great for short runs as well. The razor knife has that capability as well. Very simple to set up. The shear knives are upper and lower, so they're going to take more time. So under those, and now here's a question for you, Ted. Under all those things that I just told you, which one would you choose for your Digital Pro?
Well, again, it's just going to depend upon the application. I see crush knives more often. But again, just get with your Mark Andy representative. Let's talk about the applications, particularly the substrates, and we'll come up with the best solution for you. At the end of the day, we've got options. Options are good. All
right, and by the way, can you if you wanted to die cut and sheet, would you be able to do that in a single pass?
Yes, you certainly can by using a multi-level die.
All right, good stuff. So I'd like to get into another section of the press. This would be the bypass module. And as we talk about the bypass module, you might say, well, why is that there? The bypass module transforms the Digital Pro into an offline converting and finishing machine, which bypasses the digital engine. So while printing digital labels, the press runs at an impressive 77 feet per minute. However, the Mark Andy press was designed on a platform that exceeds that speed. So, for example, if you're running a 2-color flexo job, like the one we're going to do next, the press can run at a maximum of 150 feet per minute in semi-rotary mode and 200 in full rotary mode with a few adapters. This capability is possible because of bypass module. This ties back to our earlier point of having a flexible machine that can do a lot of things in the press room and work around fast lead times. Another advantage of this module is that when you bypass the digital module, the web is not wearing the consumables, which increases components durability. This module can be permanently installed in the machine, so there's no need to store it when it's not in use. You can also choose, to use it or not. And Ted, I have a question for you. What are some of the other options that can be added to the machine that I might have, overlooked, other than the conveyor system and the bypass module that are available to our printers?
So I think you highlighted the primary options that the majority of the customers are either interested in or in fact go with. That being, from Digital One, we've evolved where we have the second flexo station, which would be prior to the digital module. So that's an option. The semi-rotary die cutting is an option. Of course, we've got the bypass that you mentioned, and there's other options such as, of course, we've got the more advanced slitting options, and you can get things like an adjustable clearance anvil. If you wanted to try to prolong the life of your tooling.
Right. Any small things?
Another thing that we mentioned earlier are all of the various software options, which are quite extensive now. Again, color management, BDP, and just a lot of layers of different software applications. And definitely we want to get our pre-press team talking to your pre-press team to figure out what that best solution is. Another option that a lot of customers go with if they're running narrower webs would be an additional fusing unit. That way, as you mentioned earlier about wearing, utilizing the bypass tray or the bypass web path to not wear on the fusing unit within the digital print. Same thing, if you're running a 10-inch substrate on a regular basis, you could get an additional fusing unit, and that way, you're not putting wear and tear on your primary fusing unit.
So sometimes I walk into a press floor and I found it, the lamination's pretty loud. Is there any solution there?
Yeah, I think we just highlighted that pretty good. That lamb silencer is it's the cat's meow.
It's the cat's meow. No, I haven't heard that one. So all right, so you were talking about some pre-press stuff and stuff like that, software. What about that?
Well, lots of different options as far as color management goes, just different levels. How expensive do you want to be with your color management? If you're a shop that's pushing out industrial labels and they just don't need to be that fancy, then you're probably not going to need any additional software. You're going to be able to just print to the press more like the desktop printer that we referenced earlier. However, if you're running, wine labels on a safe stock, and color matching is absolutely critical to your customer, because what we may think about the job is mostly irrelevant. It's our customers' that's what matters. And if they're super sensitive to color matching, and we have to be very exact about it, then we would want to look at the additional options as far as the color matching software goes. And of course, we've got the BDP, barcoding, sequential numbering, all of that type of stuff that we now have with options on the software side.
Right, right. Hey, let's talk about banner mode. The banner mode is a feature that basically is spotlight feature of this press. It allows commercial applications, and you know, as is the case, it can print up to 47.24 inches of continuous digital print, and that's ideal for point of purchase displays, posters, book jackets, and other large format types of labels. Hey, and that's a good question. Ted, what kind of jobs do you see customers running more and more on this machine?
Well, again, I think that the economics really should determine what jobs you're running on this press. There really should not be a significant difference between the quality of output that you get within the various processes in your plant. The economics should determine what jobs you're running on Digital Pro. That said, it is 1200 DPI. It is a very fine image, and a lot of times, quick turnaround, but also determine, if your customer needs a label quick, and your flexo turnaround time is 3 or 4 weeks, which we're hearing a lot of right now. You can get it out on Digital Pro a lot faster. So that's a dynamic question that we see, is ever changing. But my recommendation is always the economics will support where to run your particular jobs first and foremost. And then secondarily would be if that particular customer had, color critical or just they prefer the look of digital, then I'll sell them the digital. And if they need a quick turnaround, sell the turnaround.
Right. Yeah. So I'm out in the field and I see a lot of these customers printing up in different markets. Food and beverage is huge for this press. I see a lot of craft brewery labels, CBDs growing and growing. One of the extraordinary things that I see is the durable industrial markets, especially because of the resistance of the inks. And we've got all the documentation to support its durability, both to UV sunlight resistance and resistance to scratching as well, blue wool test. And on that note, maybe I should talk about some success cases. We've had one particular customer with all this pandemic thing going on. He didn't produce labels. He actually consumed labels. And he found that he needed to really get this going. Today, he's producing jobs that are well over 30 and 40,000 feet, and very happily. So, are we ready for job number 3, by the way, there, Ted?
Yes, we are. Of course, Alfredo is, right? So on job number 3, this is a single SKU job. And really, Alex, I think this highlights what we have just talked about with the ever-changing world of labels and demand. And, this is probably a good example. It may not say, clean or sterile or whatever related to COVID specifically, but this is a very good example of how you could, you could produce a label similar to that. And we're utilizing the bypass tray, or the bypass web path here. And again, this is really just software with a steel frame. So, or I guess it's actually aluminum frame, but it's a very inexpensive option that can drive a lot of profitability. Like we're seeing here on this job, the 2-color flexo ran at 150 feet per minute on the semi-rotary die cutting. And this is ran on a 2.4 mil white box with a 2.2 high density paper lining. And of course, we're utilizing both flexo stations, the semi-rotary die cutting, and the waste line gun. And again, Alfredo prepared that beautiful label for us.
That's really nice, Ted. Very good, Ted.
All right, so I'll kick it back to you, Alex.
Yeah, so Ted, I just want to wrap up with the pillars of success behind the Digital Pro. Like a key takeaways are 77 feet a minute, easy operation, very easy to operate for operators and to get maximum amount of jobs through in a shift, a low cost to print, and a press that's extremely flexible. Flexible not only for today and the jobs available today, but into the future as well. As you saw, the platform prints faster. It prints at 77. The machine operates at well over 140. So solid press. Christine, I'd like to ask, do we have any questions out there in the field that need to be addressed before we wrap this up?
Of course. Thank you both to Ted and Alex and Alfredo. Great jobs to show this afternoon. So looks like if I can ask you, Ted, you mentioned cold foil. Can you use any suitable foil color such as copper, red, green, etc., as opposed to overprinting a silver or gold foil to create a color?
Yeah, we see customers using a wide array of colors on the cold foil. I don't see that being a problem. Of course, if there's something that we don't know there that might be a limiting factor or a challenge, we would just want to run it in the demo room. Let's test Alfredo with it and see, but my guess is yes.
Okay, great.
So referent to cold foil, the most important aspect of cold foil, of course, is the adhesive and the release of the adhesive. So of course, those components are most important. And Mark Andy has a slew of people that are very well versed in these applications, and that's what we're here for, the entire solution. Christine.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Great answer, guys. Alex, I'm going to send this next question to you. Is there any thought of upgrading the Konica digital unit from CMYK to CMYK OGP? I feel that the EG color gives us richer print on an image-centric label.
All right, so very good question. So the Konica Minolta engine is a CMYK engine. And again, this is a physics answer. We can't do OVG, that's not available. So expanded gamut on this press is limited to CMYK. We've got the white. We mentioned the color gamut. Ted talked about that in this presentation. We have a series of digital presses that are extended gamut. They're inkjet, and they go well over and beyond the color array of only CMYK. So that discussion is obviously available if you want to dig deep into Mark Andy's digital product line. That's where we can have that conversation. Yeah.
Great.
And of course, you can run a spot color with the additional flexo stations
Wonderful.
on the Digital Pro as well.
Thank you very much. Ted, this one will be for you. Will my 2200 and 13-inch tooling, both plate and rotary dies, work with this press?
Yes, it absolutely will. And that is a great point that we probably should have brought up earlier, but the print stations on the Digital Pro, there is a few of those 2200 print stations out there in the world. And that's the exact same print station that we're using on the Digital Pro. So yes, your tooling will work.
Okay, Alex, so when using the conveyor, we need to run full rotary with varying cylinder size, right?
Okay, so so Ted talked about a 2-level die. That's one option. If you're sheeting only, you'll have to put in a solid die for that, and it will be a variable. It'll be the repeat that's requested of the job.
And yes, you will need to run that in full rotary mode.
Great. Ted, how about the Lamy tube applications such as toothpaste tube printing?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Sorry, I'm looking at this. Somebody was asking about the lamy tube. I'm sorry, I might be saying that incorrectly. Applications such as toothpaste tube printing.
I'll take that.
Go ahead, Alex.
Okay. When it comes to toothpaste tubes, as you're in the industry, there's different ways of doing this. You can over laminate, or you can directly print on the substrate. Toothpaste tubes, they come, plastic web, or they can be a composite of different materials. So let's say you had a polyethylene with an aluminum with a polypropylene, and you want to print it on top of that. Well, you're asking too much from toner because we have to fuse. Laminates, I would suggest that it be run on either our Digital Series IQ or our Digital Series HD press. I'm sure you would be quite impressed by its capabilities. I ask you to bring that to the table, and we'll dig in deep on that one too. We've got a lot to talk about there.
Great, I appreciate that, Alex. So we have a lot of great questions coming in. It's just a reminder that if you do have a question, if you can put it in the Q&A box rather than the chat, that'll help us to get through those as well. Another one, I'm trying to look through this, guys, and trying to get through all these questions as quickly as possible. Alex, did you have another one for Ted while I look through? I'm just trying to get to these as quickly as they're coming in.
All right. Another one for Ted. All right. Ted, if I'm starting a label manufacturing plant, right? I don't do labels. What other things should I consider other than just the press, around my press?
Well, you would definitely want to engage your marketing representative to have, we sell laptops with the press that come pre-configured with any of the various software applications that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So, you do have to have a computer to feed the press, again, just like you would with a desktop printer. So, that's something that I would definitely recommend. You might need something like, a lift cart to carry around your substrate rolls.
Do I need a rewinder?
You don't need a rewinder. There are certain applications where it is more economically beneficial to utilize a rewinder, but the beauty and the simplicity of Digital Pro are the finished labels off the end of the press at an entry-level price and, basically like mid-market type of productivity.
Right. I often recommend also that they consider a tabletop rewinder. You always get customers that want 1,000 labels, per roll or something like that, or 500. So having that, as an extra in your shop, I think is a good idea. Mark Andy does resell them, but there's many out there as well. And all right, so Christine, do you have any other questions out there?
I do, Alex. Here's the next one. Is Creo DFE available?
Is the Creo DFE available? I have not had any discussions around Creo as being the DFE. What we have is we work with ESCO. We have a ProWorks setup that works with the traditional Illustrator and products used in design. So that kind of discussion is what we'd look at. I have not heard of the Creo as being part of this suite.
Thank you to Ted, Alex, and Alfredo for a great presentation today. If we did not get to your question, we will have a representative reach out to you. If you have any additional questions, please contact us by emailing marketing@markandy.com. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.